Well, my name's Kathy. I live in the United States in New Hampshire. I've lived here my whole life. I'm 62. Um, I have five grandchildren and one great grandchild. And I'm an adult child. I'm the youngest of four children. And my parents grew up small town here in New Hampshire. Um, but right now, I'm going to go back and forth. But right now, I'm actually retired. I left work due to fibromyalgia. I am enjoying my family, but there was a long road from there to here.
You said I'm an adult child, but you didn't finish. I think you wanted to say an adult child of alcoholics.
Yes, I did. Adult child of alcoholic.
I want to focus on fibromyalgia that you mentioned
Okay.
because I've noticed that is very common in codependent people, right?
Okay. Yes.
Because, and I want people to become conscious of this, that when we are in a bad emotional state, we are sending poison to our whole body, right? It's like we're actually sending poison, acid to our bodies.
Yes.
And so our bodies respond with disease, right? Disease. And fibromyalgia is a very debilitating disease. And what I find interesting, Kathy, right, is that it kind of reflects, we're feeling weak emotionally, and then our body's responding in kind, feeling weak physically, right?
Yeah,
So,
the body protects itself.
exactly. So I wanted to ask you that. So how long have you suffered from fibromyalgia, Kathy? And do you still have it?
I do, and it has flare-ups, and I also have osteoarthritis, which I think go hand in hand. I was first diagnosed over 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. I think because I was working a job where I was sitting down all the time and supporting numerous people, and I was just taking in more of more of my perfectionism.
Right. More of your perfectionism. Exactly. And that's a trait that many codependents have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but thinking back, I think I had it more in my life. Again, and it goes with depression, anxiety. Um, Going back in my life, I think I had it more, but I just was so busy with other things, I didn't focus on it. But
Right. Okay. And it was only diagnosed 15 years ago, but you're saying you probably had it longer than that. Tell us your story.
okay, my story. Oh, well, being the youngest of four children, only girl, all my older siblings drank at one time except me, and that's a whole lot of chapters in there. But I did marry my high school sweetheart, 37 years. We did separate for 2 years, 10 years down the road, because at that time he had already been to a rehab, so things were starting to come out. And so we separated for
So
two
wait,
years.
so Kathy, so he went to rehab as a result of you separating from him?
Yeah, well, as a result of me just saying things that I couldn't keep in anymore, like, I don't love you, and things like that. And then my actions started to show because I started to have feelings for another man. And when I told him, and everything kind of blew up, but he did go to a rehab, and I started to look at me when I started to read how really, really probably sick I was from being a codependent, probably sicker than the alcoholic. Really, really
Like you
set up.
mean emotionally sick?
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
Take on
Like
behavior.
how the codependency was as bad as being an alcoholic, right?
Right.
Okay.
And we had two children at the time, small. But I think the thing that denial for me up even to that point was that he always worked hard and brought home money and supported us. And he was a good dad, my husband. So all those things, the denials kept me. But
Sure. No, because it's important to say, right? That
it
yeah,
is, yeah. I had heard
people,
things that,
everybody has
oh,
good sides,
oh,
right?
absolutely, because it's just alcoholics are just they're good people. They just make bad choices.
So you were telling me that it was your father or both of your parents who used to drink. I want people to make a connection. Why would you choose somebody like that? Why would you fall in love and be attracted to somebody like
Because I could fix them. I saw my parents, and I probably saw my father and my husband. They had similar backgrounds. they needed emotional fixing. So it's like a glue. It's an attraction.
Yeah.
It's got to be it, and I know my
Exactly.
parents.
Yeah, I want to say that exactly. Codependence, we see the suffering in the other person, which,
Hmm.
by the way, Kathy, is the same suffering that we saw in our parent or parents, right? And
Yeah.
so we are left with this need, this desire, oh my God, of fixing them. And so we subconsciously look for somebody exactly like them. It's
Hmm.
unbelievable, Kathy. And so exactly like them, to then say, this time I am going to fix this person, right? My love is going to fix them. And we
Right.
believe, Kathy, we believe that that person is the right person, is the person that can make us happy,
Hmm.
right? I
Right.
want to share that in my case, it was unbelievable because I married, my father was not an alcoholic, not at all, but he had an emotional trauma. He had been sent to boarding school as a little child, and he saw that as an abandonment, right? So he felt abandoned emotionally by his family. Although that was not at all the case, his parents were sending him to a very expensive boarding school in Canada. But it's amazing to me, Kathy, that then I married a man who was exactly like that. He had been sent to boarding school as a little child, and he
Hmm.
experienced it in the same way. He felt
Hmm.
emotionally, right, abandoned by his family.
Hmm.
So very
Yep.
interesting.
When I first separated from my husband, it was a few years before he got sober, and he became very suicidal. So that made it harder for me to leave, to not take him back. But at the same time, I was learning about me, and I started classes. I started a full-time job. I started college. The university I worked at paid. So I had all these positive things. But what was helping me was getting counseling and help. Um, at the time, there was something available local, which only cost us very little money. So, and I knew that every time I got information, I felt better. Little steps. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, fear of abandonment. I think that's why I stayed, because I thought,
Yeah.
oh, I can't do this alone, but I could.
Okay, Kathy, and this was really important when we spoke before that you mentioned. So your husband went twice, I believe, to rehab, right, throughout your
Yeah.
marriage. Okay,
Yep.
so I want you to realize, people who are watching, right, that Kathy took the right steps, right? You separated. You told him, if you don't change, I'm not going to be with you. And he did. He went to rehab twice, and for a while he improved.
Oh yes, for a long time.
Yeah. For how long, Kathy?
Let's see, probably another 20 something years.
Okay,
Yeah.
after you separated, then you were together for 20 years and he
No,
had been
haven't.
better.
Yes.
Okay, and
Um,
he was sober, Kathy, during those times? Was he sober?
he was. So we had wonderful years. Yeah, the kids were going through the teenagers and all that. But I think then he got back into opiates the next time. Then my brother also, I had a brother who was into opiates, and they'd trade, and so things got really hectic. I hated it, and they'd hide it. So you can't. And I thought, oh, this isn't going to work anymore. I couldn't do it, myself. I had come to a point where I knew I was strong. It was tough. I don't think he wanted to be there either, but he was just so messed up from the opiates that we actually had the county clerk office who sat with us during our divorce said we were the easiest couple she ever had.
Wow. Oh, what a pity.
I know, and because he was we weren't rude. He was just, I don't know. And somebody is in that state of mind constantly.
And Kathy, and so you had put up with so much and you had gone through so much in all those years. And what made you finally like throw in the towel and said, that's it. I cannot do this anymore. I'm out of here. What was it for you?
Uh, just I needed that peace of mind. I needed really to be me. Um, I had the financial, I could do it financially. Um, so I did it. I mean, that was a big step. Um, I mean, I knew I had done it before, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to go through this again. I never want to go through this again. but I did. I said I could do this.
Good for you. Good for
And he
you.
wanted to go have his own place too. He was at the point that he was always hiding his opiate abuse, always feeling suspected and suspicious. So I think he wanted to go too because he knew he would sell the house and there would be money. So that helped because if he had put up a fight like the last time or suicide, it
Right.
would be difficult.
Yeah.
So you know,
And how long ago was that, your divorce?
that was in 2013, but we separated in 2012. And when
Okay,
he
so
found
that's
out,
8 years ago.
yeah, he
And
found
can
out in the year that I dated somebody, and after a year, just somebody I knew, and he found out, and he was mad, mad, mad. He said he thought I would change my mind after a year. So,
and how
uh,
did you feel, Kathy? Because I've been through divorce myself, and divorce is a very tough step to take. How did you feel? How do you feel now about it? How tell us.
mhm. I feel actually relieved. I feel good about it. I think I was ready for it. At first, it was kind of scary. It felt like when you lose somebody, when you die. I mean, it's a grief. It's a grieving period. There's a lot to grieve, but there's also a good side. It was scary because I thought, oh, I'll never see him again. That little part of me, but now we do see each other occasionally, and I'm reminded that a lot of things about him have not changed. What was harder was like a bomb went off in our family because our daughters were adults, and they really didn't understand a lot because I didn't pull them into the chaos. Um, and so it takes a while to reconnect, I think, for me and my girls. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
were you judged by your girls?
Not my older daughter, because my younger daughter, I think I was. She's the one that told my husband I dated somebody. She threw me right under the bus. But today we're closer
Good.
because she was like daddy's little girl. And but that's okay.
But has she come around now? Does she
She has
understand?
because she has two 12-year-old twin girls, so she knows. She's just seen things. She sees things now that they're at a distance. They see his behavior and how what I was going through because he lived with both of them for a little while. So
Right.
they saw the behavior on opiates, and it's not aggressive like alcohol, but the person just isn't there, not there. So they saw that. You kind of have to step back sometimes and let things take their place. It's
So
getting
this is a
really
book that Kathy found that helped her a lot. It's called Perfect Daughters. And can you read to us the subtitle of the book, Kathy?
sure, sure.
What does it say? Like,
Perfect daughters, adult daughters of alcoholics.
right?
Um,
And who is the author?
the author is Robert J. Ackerman, PhD.
Okay.
Um,
And Kathy, and what did you like about this book? What would you
well,
say? Why do
what
you recommend it?
Well, because it talks about, oh gosh, codependent childhood revisited, some of the chapters, which is very good. It talks about alcoholic mothers, alcoholic fathers, two alcoholics. Then part two is codependently yourself. Part three is save you, save me. And part four is discovery and recovery of me. And I think what I liked about it is it shows a lot of things that adult daughters, this is specifically about adult daughters, but I guess sons could make that, difference too. Um, it talks about things we grow up, myths we grow up in our head and how we think poorly of ourselves. But it also turns it around to a positive because we're really resilient people. For example, negative sides of adult daughters: overly competitive, a perfectionist, difficulty relaxing, fails to take care of self. But the positive side of a few of those, like competent, good in a crisis, reliable, meets goals, so there's a lot of that in the book. It have some reading and then you can say, oh yeah, yeah, I'm really good at that.
Yeah,
Because we
good.
grow up for whatever reason, intentional or not, with so much negativity, you know.
Yeah.
So you need to retrain those thoughts.
I used to suffer from ulcerative colitis, which is also an emotional disease, right? A disease that is caused from emotional wounds. And what I want to tell people and tell you, Kathy, is that today I'm completely healed, completely
Oh, that's
healed.
wonderful.
Yes, but I think it's because I've worked a lot on my emotional wounds
Mhm.
and traumas. And when you discover them and you bring them to the conscious level, you are able to heal them.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
right? So I
Mhm.
really encourage everybody, yes, I say to know yourself is to heal yourself. When we understand exactly, oh my God, this is what happened to me. And, it's like when we
Mhm.
bring things to the light, then they dissipate, right?
Yeah. And
So
sometimes I can, if an old feeling comes up, an old issue, and I know I already dealt with it, I can just go away.
exactly.
Because they still come up, they still come up, and it's like, oh, I dealt with that, go away.
Yeah, good.
But
And Kathy, and maybe that's telling you there are some things still there that you
could,
need
yep,
to bring to the surface because
yeah,
this has been my experience. When people bring it to the surface, they are
hmm,
really healed, right? But we
yeah,
really need it's like clearing up those spider webs
oh, yeah,
in our minds, and then seeing the truth. And I always refer to this phrase from the Bible, actually, that says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, right? And this is
absolutely.
right. And
Hmm.
there are like these truths have set me free, like, oh my God. For example, in a session one time, I discovered, oh my God, I was looking for my dad's, approval, recognition, and I could see that so clearly, and I could see I'm still doing that,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then I could let go of it and say, oh my gosh, no, I don't
that's
need
true.
his approval, right?
That's true. Yep, yep.
Yeah. So definitely therapy is so powerful.
Hmm. Yeah, very much so. I mean, I have lots of great notes from my therapy and a lot of things that I think I brought some here. Um, these different rules to live by that kind
Yeah.
of help. Basic human rights that sometimes, me growing up as an adult child, the right to feel anger and express it. You
Yes.
have a right to have one's opinions given the same respect and consideration as that of other people's. And those are basic things, but living in all that dysfunction, the right to be independent,
Yes.
you don't have any of that. So I have these written down. There's 12 of them, and I refer to them often because they help.
Good.
So just
Yeah.
little things that I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I know what that means.
Yeah, that's great. You're gonna have to share that with me, Kathy,
I
because
will. I sure will.
yeah, great. And I'm gonna put it out there so people can access it because exactly the more we know, right, the more we
Yes,
discover, then the more powerful we are. And then
yes,
and this is what also gives you the power to say, no, I don't want this in my life. I let it go. Just like me as well. That
right.
I came to that point that I say, no, I'm strong enough, right? And I've decided I do not want this for my life. And then
That's correct.
choose a
Yep.
different path, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And also, Kathy, I think it's important. I want to mention this to people because, gosh, we don't like to give up on our loved ones, and especially codependent people, because we emotionally depend on them. We're
Hmm.
willing to give up everything to fix them. And it's
Yep.
so important for people to hear that you were married 37 years. And
Hmm.
even though he improved during that time, eventually he went back to his roots. He went back to his dependency, right,
Correct.
on drugs.
Yep. Yep.
And this is also very common, and I can say the same thing in my case, right? Although my husband improved a lot,
Hmm.
when there's a trigger, it's very easy for them to go back to, like
Hmm.
all of us, right? It's easy for all of us
Right.
to go back to our old patterns. In
Hmm.
his case, he had a lot of anger inside him, and he never did therapy, so he never
Correct.
worked on that anger. And so
Hmm.
at one point, we have to make those tough choices for
Yes,
ourselves.
we
What do I
do.
want for my life? Even if it sounds selfish and other people not
Oh,
approve, and
yeah.
maybe our
It's a
families
big
don't approve,
conflict.
right? Or our religion doesn't approve, or our
Oh,
culture
yes.
doesn't approve,
Yep.
right?
It's funny because well, not funny. When I was separated, my parents, who they kind of kept their distance. I don't think they were sure what to think, but I know my mother did share with me one day that she said, well, she said, if we didn't have four children, she goes, I probably would have left your father years ago too. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's her way of saying I support you,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. But
that's
they,
already something.
yeah, isn't
Yeah,
that
'cause some
something?
people are not that lucky. No, it's true, Kathy. Some people are not that lucky. I remember talking to a woman whose partner used to beat her. Like there was so much domestic violence, and her family, when she decided to divorce, her family would still not support her. And you know why? Because her family, her mother and sisters, had also put up with domestic violence, right?
They
So they
feel
were
that.
like, oh, we
Yep,
put up with it. Why not you? Are you special? Right? And it's amazing how
yep,
human beings, we can get used to terrible things and then
yes,
think that somebody else should also put up with that. But no,
yep,
that's what's beautiful about life, right? We make our own choices and we
correct,
design
yeah,
our own life.
you can.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, Kathy, it was really great talking to
but,
you.
yep.
I give you the opportunity if you want to say some last words, if you know of encouragement or whatever that you want to share with those women who are suffering now, who are maybe debating should I divorce or not, or are wondering what's wrong with me and how am I ever going to be able to get rid of this codependency. What would you tell them?
Oh, take it slow. If you make some improvement and then you falter, don't worry because it's all a learning experience. Um, Someday down the road, you're going to be glad you followed your heart, especially if you have children, break that cycle, get the help you need outside of family if you have to, and don't feel guilty about that because it's your life. There's a lot of great counselors out there and a lot of help if you look for it, if you don't have it financially. So, and good luck.
Excellent. Beautiful words.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Kathy.
All
And
right.
take care.
Bye,
Bye
you too. Bye
bye.
bye. Thank you. You have a wonderful day. God bless.
Okay, you too.